Donald Trump joins us. Mr. Trump, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Before we talk about what went down overnight in Paris, I see the top column on Drudge right now. According to a Reuters 5-day presidential poll, you are leading the Republicans by a big margin. You got 36. Ben Carson's got 14. Marco Rubio's got 11. And it looks like Ted Cruz has got 8. Given that, your reaction to what went down overnight in Paris?
Well, I think the French police did a really good job. Not easy. There's nothing easy about this stuff. These are really sick people, and we got to take them out, and we have to take them out strongly. And I really respect the French police for the job they did. That was dangerous work, and they were in there, and they were really going at it. And we all have to do that. We all have to do that. You know, if you think about it, in our country, we have 300 million people that can watch, because, you know, they have to live someplace and they're living around somebody. And people really have to be vigilant. They have to see. They understand what's going on if they see certain activity that's not like, you know, Mr. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, your next door neighbor, right? And if they see this, they have to report it to the police.
See
and
something,
the
say
police
something.
are terrific, right? We have so many people that are watching, and if they really are vigilant and watching, we really should be able to find just about all of these people, most of these people, if you think about it.
So I also noticed overnight there was an alliance made, instant alliance, Russia and France, and also an instant alliance between Russia and Egypt, and immediate bombings taking place over the last 3 days. Does it bother you that America's not involved in this? Because in the past you've said, let Russia do it.
Well, I don't mind that Russia does it, and now all of a sudden they're saying I'm right. You know, 4 weeks ago I took a little heat when Russia was bombing the hell out of everybody, and frankly, you know, one of the big problems we have, there's a conflict of interest, because we're supporting rebels that we have no idea who they are against Assad. We have no idea who those rebels are. You know, that's the big problem. And every time we support rebels that we don't know, they end up being worse than the guy that was in there. Assad's a bad guy, but we're supporting people that are probably bad people.
Would you allow these alliances to take place without America?
I mean, do we have a choice, really? Look, if you think about it, when Russia is bombing ISIS, I think what we have to do is get rid of ISIS, okay?
Yep.
And we have a good relationship with France. The problem is we have a president that doesn't know what he's doing. We have a president that can't do an alliance because nobody likes him. You know, it's hard to do an alliance when you have a president that nobody likes.
Yeah.
Well, and when you contrast what the president has been saying with some of the other leaders globally, I mean, you have Putin saying it's God's job to forgive these men. It's my job to bring them to God. You have President Hollande, who just spoke to the governors there in France, and he's speaking to, the mayors in France there, saying, I'm compassionate with those children who were torn by this action, by these terrorists, but I'm taking strong action. He has strong words, and then our president seems weak verbally at times when it comes to this subject.
Well, I thought the news conference he had the other day, 2 days ago, was really an affront. It was just terrible. It was so unprofessional. He was angry at the press, and, you know, people have just been killed, and you have these animals out there shooting everybody, and frankly, you know, he wasn't angry at them. He was angry at the press. And I think he was angry at the Republicans. I think mainly me, but he didn't want to use the name, which is fine. But I think he was angry at the Republicans. But he was really angry at the press. And he showed very little anger toward the people that did all this carnage.
Yeah, you know what, Donald Trump? The president said at the APEC address last night, he said, and we're talking about the refugees now, you know, this administration has said we'll take up to 10,000 refugees. The president said, because Republicans have said we got to stop right now, the president said, I cannot think of a more potent recruitment tool for ISIS than some of the rhetoric that's coming out of here during the course of this debate. So what he's saying, really, my perspective is he's saying, okay, if more jihadis are recruited and there are more attacks, ladies and gentlemen, blame Republicans.
Right. Well, he said a lot of things, and he's not a good representative. It's not a natural fit. I mean, here's a job description. Let me tell you, the job description is not a natural fit for him. It's not working, hasn't worked. You look at all of the problems beyond this, and now this is the big one, because this is safety and this is life. But you look at all of the problems we have with trade, with Obamacare, with all of the things he's done. It's been a disaster.
Well, Mr. Trump, you made it clear that you're not a fan of the president and what he's doing. You went to Instagram late yesterday and you posted this regarding the president's judgment and the refugees.
We don't even know who they are. They could be ISIS. They could be anybody. What's our president doing? Is he insane?
So what would President Trump's plan be in this situation, Mr. Trump?
Well, what I'm talking about is, the migration, and we're taking in thousands of people, and we're bringing them in, and we have no idea who they are. And as you probably heard, you probably reported it, knowing the three of you before anybody else, so you know better than anybody. But already they're missing one. One person's gone. They don't know what happened to the person. And you look at that migration, and I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago when I first saw it. They're like, it's so many men, so many strong young men. I'm saying, where are the women? Where are the children? I mean, there's so many. So we're taking people in, and we don't know where these people come from. We don't know who they are, where they are. There's no papers, no
They're
anything.
like the rebels who we are arming.
Do you agree that we should have a safe zone set up for them?
I like that. Because, look, on a humanitarian basis, the whole thing is terrible. But they should have a safe zone in Syria, and we should help with the safe zone. And we should get the Gulf states who are not doing anything, and they're tremendously wealthy. They're not taking in people. They're too smart. They're saying, we don't want anybody. And what Merkel has done to Germany is unbelievable. I mean, she's going to go down. She was really I thought she was a terrific leader. She's turning out to be a horrible leader. What she's doing to Germany in one fell swoop, you see what's going on over there. What we should have is a beautiful, safe zone, and then ultimately someday they'll be able to go back to where they want to be. In Syria. But keep everybody in Syria. This is crazy what's going on. But we cannot have them in the United States.
The Secretary of State just said the same thing.
The Secretary of State, John Kerry, said this yesterday because he was sent over in a surprise visit to Hollande. He indicated, well, this is impossible to figure out why these attacks took place. The Charlie Hebdo attacks, however, make kind of sense. They were particularly focused and perhaps have a legitimacy to them. What's your reaction to our Secretary of State saying the Hebdo attacks had a legitimacy to him?
Well, look, anybody that made the deal with Iran, which is perhaps the worst transaction of any kind that I've ever seen, one of the dumbest, with $150 billion going to Iran and self-policing and everything else, and we don't get our prisoners back. Anybody that made that deal can say anything because that person, doesn't make any difference what they say.
But they do. The Secretary of State's in an important position. Earlier, Elisabeth, we had a chance to talk to Josh Earnest. Elisabeth and Josh Earnest got into it over the president's use of words. I just want to play it for you and get your impression.
Okay.
To call this just a setback seems awful, at least to the American people.
Well, Elisabeth, I think what I'd ask the American people to do is to go look at the transcript of the president's remarks, where he described the situation as sickening, where he expressed his profound sorrow at what exactly had occurred. And I think what I would encourage you to do is to spend just as much time focusing on the president's actions as you do his words.
His words matter, Josh. I have to stop you there. Josh, I will stop you there. The president of the United States words matter.
If you want to have me on your show, Elizabeth,
I will focus on my president's words,
Josh. To talk about a serious issue, then give me an opportunity to answer the question.
I would love for you to answer it,
but I will answer the question by telling you that you should consider. Elizabeth, if you want to have me on the show to talk about something serious as our national security, you can ask me a question and I will answer it.
Josh, we've played fair before. I'm letting you know that our president's words matter not just to me, not just to the American people, but to those around the globe who are very concerned right now.
Words are important.
That was something. He didn't do good opposition research on Elisabeth, because if he would have seen the real Elisabeth, I watched her take apart Rosie O'Donnell and Rosie quit. She never came back to the show after Elisabeth did a number. Elisabeth did better than I did. I was always very angry about that. So he did a very poor job of opposition research. No, that's Elisabeth. She's great. What can I tell you?
You're kind, Mr. Trump. Look, I like Josh Earnest. I like the press secretary there, but I do believe that people pay attention to all of the president's words. And if you're going to ask people to pay attention to some of the words and not others, that's a concern.
And lastly, Bobby Jindal dropped out yesterday. Your reaction?
Well, he was, a little nasty with me, but I think ultimately was very nice, and he tried. And, everybody's nasty to me because they want to get votes. I mean, they figure they'll get a little publicity and maybe they'll get some votes. So I get a lot of them that were nasty. Perry was very nasty to me, and a couple of them. But he was in there. He tried very hard. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's a good man. And, I'm not unhappy to see one by one they go.
Okay, well, you're at the top of the pack. Don't blame you for that. Well, Donald Trump joined us from somewhere in his empire. Sir, thank you. Have a great day today.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Mr. Trump.